Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Pamela Franklin, Robert Pine, Ed Power, Christina Holland, special guest star Phyllis Thaxter. Tonight's episode, Murder Once Removed.
My little bride. Look at this. See, the Y4 shutter cuts the shutter to 100. Look at the detail.
Brad, it's beautiful.
Yeah, isn't it? Well, I better get packing. Heavy dew last night. Those wildflowers are gonna have a texture to them like velvet today. I won't be back till sunset. You miss me?
Mm-hmm. Like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
While you're gone, I better drive into the city today and do some shopping. The lottery is getting a little low.
Well, look, splurge. As soon as we get this series off to the annual, we'll be solving again. You'll see.
Okay, bye.
You bet. Bye-bye. What are you doing here?
Hello. Surprised?
How did you get on board?
Haven't you ever heard of stowaways?
I thought I made it clear a month ago. Nothing. Not a cent.
How can a rich man like you let his son live from one day to the next, from hand to mouth?
I bet it came as quite a surprise to you, didn't it? The bride of poor Brad Fredericks discovered she's actually married a Catlin, heir to an untold fortune. You had to know he was a Catlin or you wouldn't have married him.
I found out by accident that he was your son. Brad doesn't know that I even know who he really is.
He wants to wander around like a hippie taking pictures of crocuses for $20 a crocus. That's his business. And if he's too proud to put on a suit and a tie and take his rightful place in the Catlin Industries, then both of you can go right on living on thistles and pine cones and chicken fat. That's final.
I wouldn't have come, Mr. Catlin. Only I'm going to have a baby.
Come now.
How can you disinherit your son when he's about to make you a grandfather?
You are something else. Let me tell you something, young lady. I don't buy that any more than I buy the rest of your little conniving story. I say you're much too smart to let motherhood interfere with your plans.
What plans? All I want is...
All you want is what you married Brad for. Money. I think it's time he understood that.
Now, wait a minute. I don't want to hurt Brad.
You're not going to hurt Brad. I haven't disinherited Brad. But I think it's time he was disenchanted. I'm going to turn this boat around, and we're both going to see him. Let him take a second look at the little money-grabbing earth mother he's married to.
Mr. Jones, my brother was an excellent yachtsman. He didn't make dumb mistakes. He didn't get where he was in life by making dumb mistakes.
You don't get there without making a few enemies, either.
Meaning what, Barnaby?
Meaning if it wasn't an accident, then it was something else. And enemies are something else.
I don't know. There was some fight over voting proxies. Mr. Sloan was involved. But I didn't follow R.B.'s business dealings that closely, Mr. Jones. I invested $700 of my hard-earned schoolteacher dollars with my brother when he first started out. And he made me comfortably wealthy, but that's all I know about business.
Where do I find out about this, Mr. Sloan?
Well, it should be in R.B.'s ledger. He kept a daily ledger, a diary of sorts, for 20 years. You're welcome to look at it.
Yeah, I think I ought to do that. Your brother had 2 sons. Will they carry on?
Arthur, he's been carrying on since he was a teenager. That's R.B.'s son by his first wife. His mother died when the boy was only 2.
And the other boy?
Bradley? That's R.B.'s son by his second wife. Poor Bradley. He thought the demands of being Mrs. Catlin helped kill his mother.
Does Bradley live here?
No, he's been traipsing off to become a nature photographer. He took his mother's maiden name, Fredericks, as if he wanted to disown his father.
I'd like to talk to both of them.
Well, I sent notifications to their last whereabouts, but neither one of them made it to the funeral.
Eddie, you check with the Coast Guard and see if they took pictures of the boat exactly as they found it. See if we can get copies.
Then you will look into it.
My decks are cleared. Let's get underway.
You mean this is where you lived? Brad, I just don't believe it.
Well, don't let it fool you. It's nothing but a factory in disguise.
I'm a little scared. You know, it's like I don't know who you are or who I am.
Oh, come on. Let's pay our respects, and then we'll get back to where we belong.
Bradley!
Aunt Meg.
Oh! You're as thin as a rail. You're not eating.
See, she's accusing you of starving me. Aunt Meg, I'd like you to meet my wife, Melissa.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no apology necessary. I am a terrible cook.
Come on, get your things. Your room's ready.
Oh, Aunt Meg, we can't stay. I just stopped by to pay my respects.
Why, of course you'll stay.
Well, isn't Art here?
Arthur arrived early today, but But he was so overcome with grief that he had to run into town to drown his sorrows, I presume. Now, come on. I sent you a wire to Taos, New Mexico.
Oh, we left there over a month ago. We've been photographing up near Idlewild for the past couple of weeks.
Our newspapers are a little ancient. We only learned last night.
Mr. Jones, I'd like you to meet my youngest nephew, Bradley.
How do you do?
My pleasure.
Oh, and his wife.
Oh, Melissa.
Melissa Frederick. I mean, Catlin. I still can't get used to it.
How do you do? I guess we can put these away. No smoke, no fire. That proxy business was settled several weeks ago.
What's going on, anyway?
I've hired Mr. Jones to look into your father's death.
Well, I thought the newspaper said it was an accident.
Did you ever know your father to have an accident?
Not unless you count me.
I understand you enjoy working out of doors. You're a man after my own heart.
Oh, I'm sure my Aunt Meg has billed me as the starving photographer.
This color seems good. I wouldn't worry about the woodsy ones.
Well, I like to enjoy living while I'm making a living.
Well, you can't ask for more than that. Call you in the morning?
I'll see you out.
No, never mind. Very happy to meet you all.
Yeah.
Right. Come on, I want to look around that side.
Oh, well, you go ahead. I want to talk to Aunt Meg.
Okay.
Well, now, tell me what you've been up to. Aunts have a right to know a few things.
A gentleman would invite me in, you know.
A gentleman wouldn't be seen talking to you. Now, you wait for me at the apartment.
Okay, what do I tell them if Harry Olmo calls again?
You tell them to get them off my back. At the very least they can do, they can have the decency to wait until the will is read. Now, come on, shoot.
Mr. Catlin.
Guilty.
I'm Barnaby Jones, private investigator.
Good old Aunt Meg. She doesn't even trust an act of God, does she?
I understand you were out of town and didn't make it to your father's funeral.
Yeah, I was in Las Vegas. I was buying the cornerstone to a new hotel. That's a confession, only one to a customer.
When did you hear about your father's death?
4 o'clock? I don't remember whether it was a.m. or p.m. You know Vegas.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Catlin.
Look, Aunt Meg, I don't need anything. And I don't want anything.
Very nice speech, Brad. Still playing Robinson Crusoe, huh?
Aye, aye.
Is that any way to greet your brother? And don't you think you've had enough?
Aunt Meg, a private investigator? Really? Something new's been added. Who's the new pool man?
That's Brad's wife, Melissa.
Living with the birds and the bees gave you some ideas, eh, Brad?
Leave her be.
Don't worry about Melissa. She can take care of herself.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
I'm Melissa, Brad's wife. You must be,
Bah! Art, the black sheep of the family. You know, for a half-sister-in-law, you're not half bad. Hey, don't I know you?
I don't think so. I'm sorry about your father.
Sure. Your hair was different and you weren't wearing any jeans or anything like that.
I think you've had a little too much to drink. We've never met before.
We met in the Bahamas. They imported a whole group of pretty young things like you for the customers. You were the best one of the lot.
I don't know what you're talking about. Now let go of me.
Yes, you do, Melinda.
My name is Melissa.
I liked you, remember? I never heard those wedding bells you kept tinkling in my ear. But after you struck out with me, you kept pumping me about that shutterbug brother of mine back in Taos, didn't you? That's what you did. You changed your outfit. You went after him.
I'm afraid that you're mistaken.
There's nothing to be afraid of. This is great. Let's just say that your secret will be something that you and I share together.
I hear something.
Sorry, Barnaby, that may be a brushstroke to you, but it looks like a sandwich to me.
It's exactly what it is, and it looks like you took one bite out of it. Looks like Mr. Catlin had sat down for lunch, but he didn't finish it.
What do you think happened?
Why would he set the automatic pilot? Come out here, start to eat his lunch, take one bite, and then suddenly decide to change course unless something or someone interrupts him.
Barnaby, everyone said that when he left, he was alone. And he was alone when they found him.
It's too much to believe that he would spin this wheel hard enough to override the automatic pilot, jibe the boat, and let the boom swing over here and kill him. I'll bet you $1 to a slice of salami that something interrupted his lunch.
Meaning someone.
Yeah, and the list can get pretty long. Let's start close to home. There's his son, Art Catlin, who said he was in Las Vegas when his father was killed. Why don't you check the hotels down there?
Right, I can do that.
And I have a license number. He has a female chauffeur. She ought to know something about his coming and going.
Why don't you just ask him?
Well, I don't like to let people study the questions too long before I hear the answers.
To my dear sister Meg, whose faith in me has already made her a wealthy woman, I leave only my best wishes for a long life and good health. She already has everything else that money can buy. To my son Arthur, who long ago gambled away any hopes that I had for him, I leave the sum of $50,000 so that he may make one last gamble on himself or on any game he chooses.
No! Pompous, self-righteous.
Arthur, be quiet, please. Go on.
Well, except for that bequest and 2 other small gifts to charities, the entire estate and interest in Catlin Industries is left to you, Bradley.
All right.
Bradley, let go.
Melissa?
Are they through in there?
Yeah, they're through in there, but we're not through out here.
You look like a little boy who only got the wing in the neck at a chicken dinner.
Yeah, you're right. Bradley got it all, baby. Except for the nickels and dimes. But Bradley doesn't know that I have a little prior interest in his chicken.
Stop that.
I've got a little proposition for you, Melinda.
You call me anything you want, and you tell Brad anything you like. I'll deny it. And he'll believe me.
Yeah, Bradley's going to believe you. But I'm not so sure a certain Mr. Barnaby Jones won't want to dig a little bit deeper when he knows all about you. He'd just love to know how you happened to meet and marry dear, dear Bradley.
What do you want?
You're going to have a say in running the financial matters of Catlin Industry now. You're going to see to it that your favorite brother-in-law is very well taken care of. Aren't you? There's plenty for everybody. Hey, Melinda.
Barnaby Jones. How's the Sherlocking going these days?
Oh, so-so. How's the Shylocking? Of course, our percentage is not nearly as good as in collecting. How's everything in Vegas?
You know me, Barnaby. Las Vegas is just another town in Nevada to me. Sorry, gotta run.
See you around, Harry.
Harry Olmo is a friend. What business is it of yours anyway?
Harry can't afford friends. He's a collector for gambling spots halfway around the world.
Well, you know what? I don't have to tell a private investigator anything. So why don't you just leave while it's still nothing to nothing?
Over at the Catlin house, I got the impression that Art owed somebody. Harry is a collector. That's not nothing to nothing, that's 2 and 2.
So Art gambles. Everybody knows that. And everybody knows he's got credit. All over.
He had credit. I talked to his aunt a couple of hours ago. Arthur didn't inherit enough money to finance a lifetime career at the tables.
Oh, yeah? That's not the way I heard it.
Well, it must be the way Harry heard it, or he would have left here with a bigger smile on his face.
Hey, wait a minute. All Harry Olmo has to know is that he's going to get his money.
I'm a little harder to please. I want to know how.
Why are you asking me? Ask him.
I suppose you were up there in Las Vegas watching him gamble away his inheritance during his own father's funeral?
He didn't know such a thing. He was right here. Because we had a party going, a 4-day swinging party.
How about the afternoon his father died, the 7th? Was he here then?
You get out of here. No!
Better think about it, Junie. The district attorney will be asking that question. Only he'll want an answer.
I'll try not to be long.
I still don't understand why you have to go tonight.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Catlin. I had to get the board of directors together before tomorrow's deadline.
I guess it's the least I can do for my father. Well, wait up for me, huh? Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
I'll see to tomorrow's menu.
That's just the start. The overnight trips, nighttime meetings. It's going to get very lonesome around the old barn on those long nights.
I wish she wouldn't do that.
Wait a minute. I know you remember. A real barracuda, but not without talent.
Please.
Baby, Bradley isn't your type. Bradley doesn't know the first thing about the care and feeding of barracuda.
Are you crazy? The old girls are in the house all the time.
Well, he's a very heavy sleeper.
I know a place that's nice and cozy.
Why don't you drive down the road and wait for me?
Well, you wouldn't be just trying to get rid of me, would you?
No. Now go on. I'll go up to my room, then I'll sneak down the stairs up the balcony.
Yeah. that's the Melinda I remember. You know, I just had a thought in it, Din. I looked at you and I said to myself, I wonder if she could have knocked off the old man herself. Wouldn't put it past her.
If you're that far gone in the brandy, you're not going to be much fun, darling.
Don't worry about me, baby. Just down the road. I'll be waiting.
Did Arthur leave?
Yes, I hope he's all right to drive. I'm tired. I think I'll go upstairs and lie down till Brad gets home.
Very well, dear. Good night.
You're right on time, Contessa.
I'll drive. I don't want to spoil everything by getting stopped.
That's my baby. I've got the feeling that this is going to be the start of a beautiful relationship.
Take it easy, Arnold. Look, it's tricky enough driving through here as it is. You better get out and take a look.
Forget it. Let's go. I'll have a check tomorrow.
No, better check the headlight. The police will stop us if the light's out.
Man, you really got to be born with a death wish to drive this canyon under the influence.
You think he was thrown clear of the car?
Looks like it.
No.
He shouldn't have come.
I knew Arthur had been drinking, but I didn't know he was that drunk.
There's no way of actually telling what really happened.
Suicide. Wanted that money so bad. Couldn't see himself living without it.
Well, now, there isn't any evidence of that, Mr. Catlin.
Sure there is. I've seen it all my life. Should have known. I would have given it to him, all of it. good is it anyway?
How can you say that, Brad? I mean, you don't know this could have happened anyway. Then everything would have ended up no use to anyone.
One last gamble. Huh. Isn't that what the will said?
I don't understand why you come to see me, Mr. Jones.
Well, the circumstances of Mr. Catlin's accident, I figured he could have been on his way to see you. And if not, he may have told you where he was going.
No, Arthur didn't exactly confide in me. I was his companion, and a darn good one, too. Now I'm out of work.
You were fond of Art Catlin.
That's a jerky word. Fond is for teddy bears. He was a habit, okay? There's bad and there's worse. At least he wasn't worse. Yeah, I guess I was fond of him.
Where'd you meet Arthur?
In the Bahamas. I was working as a lounge photographer in a spot down there. Among other things, you don't have to look at me like I invented sin or something. Arthur had a whole string of girls. I never tried to fool myself. But I was his favorite.
I had a talk with Harry Olmo. He said that Art called him and said that although the inheritance wouldn't cover his debt, he was expecting a lot more soon. Any idea where from?
All I remember is Art said, old lovers never die. They just pay and pay. He said it like it was the magic word or something. I could just tell.
Doesn't sound like the magic word to me. It sounded like blackmail. Now, come on. He must have mentioned a name. He knew something. Someone who was like money in the bank to him. Now, think back.
Well, he was asking to see those pictures, but that wouldn't have anything to do with here.
What pictures? We may be getting warm and don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, these. They're copies of a lot of the pictures I took of people in the Bahamas in the lounge.
Any particular one?
Yeah, this one. Melinda Pollock. She spun a web all over the place trying to catch Art. It wasn't the marrying kind. I could have told her.
Hi.
Hi, honey. Willie here. I've got great news.
No, ladies first. I've got a surprise for you.
Okay, all right.
I've ordered an absolute fortune in darkroom equipment. They're going to set it up in that big room right behind the servants' quarters. And you can play photographer till your heart's content. Big, busy man. Now you'll need the relaxation.
Oh, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I'm no longer a busy man. I've decided to chuck the whole thing.
What?
After 2 meetings with the board of directors, I'm already strangling. So I decided to turn it over to somebody else.
Slow down. You're not making any sense.
It's the first sense I've made in days. I've already talked to Lyle Stranton, and he's going to start setting it up first thing on Monday when he gets back from New York.
Set what up?
The Catlin Foundation. I'm going to put the Catlin fortune to work. A board will manage Catlin Industries using the profits from all that money where it'll do the most good.
Brad, you can't just...
But I can do it. Oh, Aunt Meg can have the house if she wants it, but the rest is all going to be put to work for the people who need it the most. I've never been any good at handling money, and now I don't have to handle a dollar of it. What's wrong?
It's just such a shock. I mean, your father wanted you to.
But what good did it do my father? He's dead. And Art's dead. And if I have to sit through another board of directors meeting, I'll be dead.
Well...
We have to live our own lives, Melissa. We agreed on that when we got married. And I'm not going to let you down. So why don't you pack up the camper and we'll get back where we belong?
Yes, of course, darling. Whatever you say. Just so long as I'm with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, what's the verdict from Taos, New Mexico?
Melissa Morgan arrived in Taos 1 year ago, and by the strangest coincidence enrolled in the same photographic class as Bradley Catlin, or Fredericks as he called himself then.
Photographic class?
Yes, it was an 8-week course conducted by a famous nature photographer.
And nature took its course.
Nature isn't quite that natural, because 2 months earlier, Melinda Pollock had tried to get brother Art Catlin to tumble for her in the Bahamas.
She gets around. Driver's license issued to Melinda Pollock shows her last address, Orlando, Florida. The owner of the building at that address said that she was a swimmer with a water ballet group at Undersea Gardens. Barnaby, are you sure it's the same girl?
Darken the hair, take away the makeup, earrings, and swinging Melinda becomes Sweet Melissa.
I'll be. You're quite an artist.
Not half the artist that Sweet Melissa seems to be. Quick change con artist who strikes out with brother Art, but not before she finds out he has a brother who is roughing it in Taos. Bradley. But she has a problem. Little does she know that Bradley will not touch his father's money with a 10-foot pole.
You think she tried to get money out of R.B. Catlin on her own?
Didn't you say she was a professional swimmer?
Barnaby, you're not saying she killed him?
I don't know. 30, 40 minutes, she's ashore, then all she has to do is wait for the inheritance.
Wait and worry a little. She must have known that she'd have to meet Art Catlin again.
Yes, and if he did recognize her, that might explain why he was so confident about getting more money.
Well, what can you do?
Well, there's one thing I have to do in a hurry. I have to have a quick, quiet talk with Bradley Catlin.
Catlin?
Oh, hello.
Bradley around?
No, he left about a couple of hours ago. Drove up to Lake San Fernando to take some pictures. Never could understand that boy, wanting to look at the world through a viewfinder. Now, maybe I do. Maybe that's why he wants to give it all away.
It's coming a little too fast for me. Give all what away?
Everything. Everything that has the Catlin brand on it. He's having Lyle Stratton start the whole thing in motion Monday. A foundation for worldwide charities or something like that.
Well, how did his wife take that little piece of news?
All right, I guess. I don't understand her quite, but she seemed happy enough about the whole thing when Brad left.
I'd like to talk to her.
Well, she should be back shortly. She went to the doctor's, coming down with a cold. Is something wrong?
Do you happen to know which doctor?
Yes, our family doctor, Edwin Majeski.
Do you have his number?
Let's see.
Hello? I'm trying to locate Melissa Catlin. Is she in your office now? Why has she been there? I see. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry to have bothered you.
She isn't there?
She had an appointment, but she didn't keep it.
That's strange. She said she was going.
Where did you say that Bradley was taking these pictures?
Somewhere up around Lake San Fernando.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Wait here.
If you had taken a course in auto mechanics instead of photography, you'd know that a car just doesn't have the old get up and go with the coil wire missing. Might as well crawl out of there, Melissa or Melinda or whatever your name is. This is one murder scene you're not going to walk away from or swim away from.
Mr. Jones, I'd like to talk to her.
Well, come on.
Officer?
You'd like to talk to her?
Melissa, if you just told me how important that money was to you.
You'd never understand. How could you? You were born rich. You lived rich. You were so rich you didn't even want the money. I've never had anything my whole life.
But was it worth killing two people?
I'd have sold my soul for it.
Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Bill Bixby, Louise Troy. Tonight's episode, To Denise with Love and Murder.
Well, yes, I was heading over to the club for a bit. Why, did you have something on?
Oh, no, I just hoped we might do something together.
Oh, well, good, then why don't you come along with me? Maybe we can get up a foursome.
Why don't we make it a twosome?
And what do? Go to the park? And I'll carve our initials in a tree. Alex loves Hazel.
Oh, Alex, am I being that tiresome?
No. You're being affectionate and possessive and obviously very proud to be seen with your husband, and I love it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I seem to be doing a lot of apologizing lately, and I don't know why.
Nor I. You don't have to apologize.
Mrs. Chandler, you wanted on the phone.
Who is it, Martha?
I don't know. They wouldn't give a name.
Oh. Well, I'll take it in the sitting room.
Oh. Well, what's this?
It's a little party, darling.
A little party? Is for two.
Well, I have a surprise for you.
Mm-mm.
Your wife is joining us.
The joke's in bad taste.
I may not know too much about good taste, Alex, but it's no joke. I phoned her and I invited her.
I don't believe it. Denise, you couldn't be that stupid.
What's more, darling, she's coming.
Do you know what you've done? I mean, do you have any idea?
She had to be told, Alex, and you kept putting it off. Look, Alex, it has been 6 months. I gave up my job. I've been stuck in this apartment. Are you getting a divorce? Are we ever getting married or not?
What did you say to her?
Nothing. I simply told her that it was time we sat down and worked out a settlement for her.
A settlement? We're going to pay her off with what?
Look, don't you pretend you haven't got plenty of money. I know where you live and you drive a Rolls Royce.
You don't know anything. Now, I want you to call her back on the phone right now. You tell her you made a mistake. Do you understand? You tell her you got in touch with the wrong Mrs. Chandler.
Just a minute, Alex.
I'm telling you to call her right now, and I don't care what you say, but you keep her away from this place.
You don't have any money, do you? It comes from her, doesn't it?
Call her!
It all comes from her, doesn't it, Alex? The money for the gifts? My ring? Well, I bet you she's even paying for this apartment. She's rich and you're... What are you, Alex? There's a word for men who marry rich, old women. What is it?
I'm telling you to shut up.
Come on, Alex. Say it. Say it, you gigolo!
Denise, I'm sorry. Denise.
Alex.
Oh, Hazel, since you didn't want to go out, I decided to take a drive. I almost got hit by a drunken driver. It really shook me.
Why don't you stop lying, Alex? I know all about you and Denise Fraser. She asked me over to discuss a settlement. For me. Isn't that a laugh?
Hazel. She's a silly little airline stewardess I met on a plane. She thinks she's in love with me. I've had absolutely nothing to do with her. Please believe me.
If this were the first time, I might. But it's a little late for that now.
Now look, you've got this all wrong. Now give me the bag.
Let me go.
Give me the bag.
Now, you understand, I want to help because, after all, that is what I'm selling. But to tell you the truth, Mr. Turlock, I'm not quite sure in my own mind exactly what it is you want.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones. I'm afraid I haven't expressed it very well.
Well, let's see if we can work it out. Now, you say that you're afraid that something has happened, or is happening, or is going to happen to your sister, Mrs. Hazel Turlock Chandler.
Yes, that's it exactly.
What?
Well, that's the problem, don't you see? Nobody knows. Poor Hazel hasn't been seen for 2 weeks. Alex won't let anybody in the house.
Alex, that's your brother-in-law.
He's my sister's husband.
And you telephoned, of course.
Of course. Alex always answers, always gives the same reply. My wife isn't well enough to see anybody. And that includes her own doctor. I tell you, Mr. Jones, poor Hazel is a prisoner in her own house.
You say that literally. It is her own house.
It's all hers. Everything. Man is an absolute fortune hunter. That was obvious from the start to everybody except poor Hazel. And now he's going to murder her. If he hasn't already done it.
Well, I think you ought to go to the police.
Mr. Jones, I have been to the police. They say that there's no evidence that any crime has been committed. And so they're powerless to do anything. I don't know what we pay taxes for.
All right. All right, I'll try to see what I can find out about your sister. Now, my secretary will take care of all the details.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yeah. Aphids.
Could you please not lay on the bell? There's a very sick woman in the house.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What do you want?
Well, I'd like to see Mrs. Alex Chandler.
Well, she cannot be disturbed right now. If there's anything I can do, I'm her husband.
Well, no, I have some papers that require Mrs. Chandler's signature.
Yes, why don't you just give them to me? I'll have her sign them, and I will mail them to you.
Well, I'm afraid that won't do because I have to witness her signature. It'll only take a moment.
Then you'll have to come back another time. She's too sick to see anyone, doctor's orders.
Well, if she's under a doctor's care, I could get her an extension. The doctor's name is...
Look, I don't give a damn about your extension. I haven't got time to stand here and talk to you. Good day.
Mr. Chandler, you gotta spray your roses.
Are you looking for someone?
Are you Martha?
That's half my name.
Well, I apologize for the informality, but the only information I had was Martha, this address, and you used to be Mrs. Chandler's housekeeper.
I'm still her housekeeper. Who gave you that information?
Charles Turlock. He hired me to... Well, he was worried about his sister's health, and he thought maybe you might know how she is.
You some kind of a policeman or something?
A private detective hired by Mr. Turlock.
Well, I suppose you better come in. But I'm warning you, you're not going to get anything out of me. Because what I see in that house and what I hear in that house stays in that house.
Nice sentiment, but you might be of help. No one has seen or spoken to Mrs. Chandler in the last 2 weeks.
I wouldn't know about that. I've been off for 2 weeks.
Why?
Well, they didn't need me, of course.
Let me help you with that. When was the last time you saw Mrs. Chandler?
I just told you, 2 weeks ago.
Ah, so you did, Martha. Was that when she laid you off?
I wasn't laid off. Besides, it wasn't her. Mr. Chandler called me the next morning and said he wouldn't be needing me for a few days.
Was Mrs. Chandler ailing or anything?
She was going out for tea. Now, does that sound like ailing?
Would you know with whom?
The name was Denise Fraser. And don't ask me who she is, because I never heard of it before.
You mean she invited Mrs. Chandler to tea and Mrs. Chandler went with a stranger?
A stranger to me isn't necessarily a stranger to her.
Would you know where?
As a matter of fact, I do. Mrs. Chandler asked me to look it up for her in the map. It's in Glendale on Dadeland Street. But that's the last word you're going to get out of me.
I respect your discretion, Martha.
Mrs. Durant to you.
Mrs. Durant, thank you very much, and the best of luck to you.
Well, when you've been managing apartment buildings as long as I have, Mr. Jones, nothing surprises you. Especially the tricks they pull to try to duck out on the rent.
I'll bet you're not often fooled, Mr. Woodford.
No. Oh, right here. Right here is where I found the box with the things. Now, you take this Denise Fraser. Good-looking girl. Really built. Lives alone. And as far as anyone knows, no job. Okay, enough said.
I am reading your mind.
No, right away, I said, I got her pegged. She'll take off secretly, dead of night. 2 weeks ago, she did.
Denise Fraser. Take 3 times a day. This all she left?
Yep. Found her over there by the elevator where I showed you. Like she laid it down, then forgot it.
Maybe she didn't have room for the stuff in her car.
Oh, I doubt that, Mr. Jones. She drove away in a Rolls Royce.
Did she now? Secretly, in the dead of the night. How do you know this, Mr. Wolford?
I used to pass from the hall right up and down the elevator with her.
She wasn't a very friendly type. As a matter of fact, she turned out to be downright unfriendly. She flattened me with the heel of her shoe.
Why would she do that?
I was looking at a car. Well, I don't think it was hers. There'd never been a car in that parking space until that night. I came upon her when she was skipping out. I guess she thought I was going to blow the whistle on her. If I'd have known, I'd have helped her move.
Did you happen to get the license number?
Mr. Jones, I got hit in the head with a shoe. They don't have license numbers.
All right, mister, hold it right there. I have a gun on you. And if you don't believe it, make a quick move. What are you doing here?
Well, I haven't got these papers signed by your wife yet. You told me to come back later.
She's asleep, and not in the garage.
Well, I could see that. What kind of car does your wife drive? A Rolls, isn't it?
That's right, but I don't think that's any of your business.
There's no car of any kind in there now. Did she go away somewhere, Mr. Chandler?
I told you. Let me see that. This has nothing to do with my wife. What do you want here? Maybe we should let the police take care of this. Never mind, just get out of here. And don't try it again. Next time I'll shoot first.
Your sister was last seen 2 weeks ago when she left her house to visit a Denise Fraser.
Who is she?
I was counting a lot on your telling me who she is.
She's no one I ever heard of.
All we know about her is that she is a good-looking young lady who lived alone in an apartment in Glendale, minus job or car.
Well, why would Hazel go to see her?
I don't know, but I know that she went. A car just like hers was seen in the garage of the apartment house. Now it's missing.
Do you think it's enough to force the police to take action?
Yeah, I think so, along with the fact that Lieutenant Taylor's an old friend of mine.
If Mrs. Chandler has been missing for 2 weeks under somewhat mysterious circumstances, why wait until now to report it?
Well, in the beginning, the circumstances were not that mysterious. Quite the contrary. You see, Lieutenant, my wife has been going through a stage of slight emotional problems, and when she got upset, it was not uncommon for her to just jump in the car and drive off.
Where?
La Jolla, Santa Barbara, usually to visit friends, and, well, to save her embarrassment, I would cover for her by saying she was upstairs with a headache, and in a few days she'd come back, and no one ever knew she was gone.
And this time?
I called La Jolla, Santa Barbara, Palm Springs, and none of her friends have even heard from her.
And that's when you decided to turn in a missing persons report.
Well, first, I called my lawyer for advice.
Well, I told Mr. Chandler to hold off a while longer until I made some inquiries.
And I'm sure you wouldn't be here, sir, if you'd found out anything.
Well, I found out that Mrs. Chandler's family and friends in the city no longer believed she was at home sick. And it was becoming an increasing source of embarrassment to Mr. Chandler.
Well, now, of course, the most important thing is, I'm worried sick. Well, good morning, Charles. I was going to ask what you were doing here, but now that I see your friend, I think I can guess.
Where's my sister? And don't tell me she's homesick. I know she's not there at all.
I'm afraid that Hazel has disappeared, Charles.
What have you done to her? She's dead, isn't she? You killed her and hid her body. You murderer. Murderer!
Well, I hated to do that, Charles. But I had no choice.
Let's go, Alex.
Take him to the washroom and put some cold water on his nose.
Were you waiting to see me, Barnaby?
Well, I was, but I got a feeling that it's going to be a waste of time now. The housekeeper said Mrs. Chandler left at 3 p.m. to visit a woman she didn't know. Several hours later, her car was still in that apartment house garage.
A witness saw a Rose that may have been Mrs. Chandler's car, Barnaby.
The tenant said he saw Denise Fraser check out of her apartment and a tearing her and drive away in a Rolls Royce. Mrs. Chandler hasn't been seen since, and neither has her car.
Anything else, Barnaby?
Yes. Her brother thinks she's been murdered. What's Chandler's story?
He says his wife took off in a snit, leaving this note behind.
But did Mrs. Chandler write the note?
Turlock admits that it's her handwriting. Of course, it's undated.
Well, then.
Well, you gotta hand it to Chandler, Betty. He saw things coming to a head, so he moved first.
Well, if he's so clever, why did he lie about her being in the house?
Well, if she's dead, he's bought himself 2 weeks to cover up his tracks.
And Denise Fraser?
Now, there is a young lady that could throw a lot of light on this case.
If you could find her.
I was going to say that. You know that box of junk she left in her garage? Well, there was a half bottle of pills in there. She's on some kind of medication. Now, if she has that prescription refilled.
Did you get the name of the pharmacy?
No, I didn't.
Barnaby!
I was going to say that I slipped the bottle into my pocket, absent-mindedly.
I wonder if I might be able to get a prescription refilled. Yes, Denise Fraser, 175062. Yes, that's Dr. Belfield. You do deliver, don't you? Oh, good. I just want to make sure that you don't send it to my old address. Right. Thank you very much. Try the Beckwith in Westchester. It's one of those swinging single apartments. Try it. You might like it.
I just might.
Welcome aboard. I'm Sherry.
Barnaby Jones. Is Denise a stewardess, too?
Oh, that's all we have here, Mr. Jones. 4 of us share this place. Even though it doesn't look like it, we're hardly ever all here at once.
Why did Denise move out?
Well, all I can tell you is Denise met a man. She just quit her job and took off. She might have married him for all I know.
I don't think so.
Oh, he already was. Well, that's standard. Poor Denise.
Where might she go if she broke up with him?
Back to work, I guess. She's still a stewardess, Mr. Jones. She could deadhead on any flight anywhere in the country.
Or out of the country?
Sure.
Do you happen to have a picture of her?
I bet you've seen a picture of her plenty of times and never knew it. There she is.
Oh, so that's Denise. Very pretty girl. Do you mind if I keep this?
Oh, sure. Tear out the page.
Thank you very much. You know, Denise was taking some sort of a medication for something. Do you know what it was for?
Uh-huh. Air sickness.
Maybe you have nothing better to do than stand around drinking milk in the middle of the day, but I'm a working stiff.
Maybe I can lighten your load, little Joe.
Mrs. Chandler?
Yeah. You turn anything?
We only got it this morning. Don't tell me you found it.
Nope. Looking for Denise Fraser. She was a stewardess until she quit her job when she met a man.
Alex Chandler?
Why not?
Where's the stewardess?
I figure she caught a plane out of town, and I also figure she may have driven that Rolls Royce out here. I talked to the parking lot people. People do that, you know. They leave their cars out here for days, sometimes a week. But longer than that, it gets a little noticeable, especially if it's a luxury job like this.
Yep.
Keys are on the visor.
Of course, you checked it out already.
Even looked in the trunk.
Very funny.
Oh, Joe, it's not funny. See the dark area on the rug?
Blood?
Blood. I understand Lieutenant Taylor is here.
Isn't he always? We seem to be spending all of our time together. I wish I could feel that all this was helping Hazel. Mr. Jones.
Hello, Barnaby. Were you looking for me?
Yep.
Well, perhaps you gentlemen would like to use this room to talk.
Well? The stain we found in the car trunk was blood. Type AB. Chandler's type O. We also found hair, woman's hair, skin scrapings, cloth fibers. Barnaby, I think he killed his wife and hid the body.
Are you ready to make an arrest?
Without the body, the evidence is circumstantial.
Sorry, Lieutenant. Can we see you upstairs for a minute?
Right. I'll hang around for a while, Barnaby.
What is it?
I don't know.
Mr. Jones, I know you think I killed my wife, but you couldn't be more wrong. Now, she's alive somewhere, I know that.
Why would you stay away so long?
Maybe she doesn't realize she's missing.
Front page story.
Then she must be someplace where she can't see a newspaper.
No radio, no TV? Where could such a place be?
I don't know where and I don't know why, but I do know she'll turn up somewhere, alive and well.
These your boots, Mr. Chandler?
Well, I think it's safe to assume that all of the men's apparel in this house is mine. Why?
Well, one of our technical men says there's a stain. Says it could be blood. Now, Mr. Chandler, until we can check this out, I don't think you ought to leave town or anything.
Yes.
Chandler.
You following me?
I'm afraid I did. When I saw your face when Taylor showed you those shoes, I thought you might make a break for it.
No. You couldn't be more wrong. After you left, I got a lead on Hazel. I think I know where she is.
I wouldn't question that for a minute.
She's alive. If you just give me 6 hours, I'll produce her. I give you my word.
That's out of my hands, Chandler. The police are on their way here now. All I'm supposed to do is delay you.
Where's Jones? I've got to see him.
Mr. Turlock, just a second. I'll see if he's busy. Mr. Turlock?
He's out. He's been released.
Chandler? How do you know?
It was on the news. I heard it on the car radio.
Betty, get me Lieutenant Taylor.
Right.
They arrest him one day and release him the next for murder? How can that be?
Well, that's what we're going to find out.
But he murdered my sister, and now he's out walking the streets. What kind of a police department do we have?
Mr. Turlock, just settle down.
Barnaby, Lieutenant Taylor on line 2.
Joe? Yeah, Barnaby. Yeah, your information is correct. His lawyer got him written out in his custody. 5 days. We've either got to charge him or kick him loose.
Well, the blood on Chandler's shoes matched that in the trunk of the car, didn't it? Well, that's your connection.
Yeah, but the DA wants to see a body, and we can't find it. What attempt to flee the country? He had a ticket to New Mexico.
New Mexico?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Betty, give me the business office of the phone company, talk to my friend there, ask him if they have any record of any phone calls between Albuquerque and the Chandler house recently.
Right. Mr. Jones, what's this all about?
Denise Fraser is in New Mexico. I'll bet you that Chandler was on his way there to pick her up and then on to Canada or Brazil or someplace out of the country. That's the only way it makes sense.
They're checking the billings now. Yes. 2 recent calls to Albuquerque. Charged to that number? 1 call there, 1 collect call from Albuquerque. And the name of the party, I'm sorry, in Albuquerque? Logan's Trading Post? Outside of Albuquerque. Thank you.
Yeah, this feller called me long distance from Los Angeles. He wanted to know if anybody was staying up to the old Double Circle Ranch. Well, shucks, mister, I said. We ain't had a delivery up there in 5, maybe 6 years. Place is all boarded up, tumbled down. There ain't nothing up there no more. So he said, well, now, if you ain't been up there, how do you know that somebody ain't staying up there?
I guess he had you there.
I reckon you're right. So I said to this fella in Los Angeles, I said, the next time the boy has a run up that way, I'll tell him to stop by and have a look around. I bet you'd never guess what he saw.
A woman.
Yeah, a woman.
Good afternoon, miss. Denise Fraser?
No.
Is she around?
No.
You mean she's gone?
No, there never was anyone here by that name.
There never was? I could have sworn that... You mean I made this trip from Los Angeles for nothing? The name doesn't mean anything to you? Well, thank you very much. Miss Chandler!
Yes?
Miss Chandler! Don't you know what's happened?
Everybody thinks you're dead and buried.
Really? How did I die?
You were murdered by your husband.
You seem to know a great deal about my affairs, Mr. Jones.
I know you left your house to call on Denise Fraser. After that, nothing.
Do you know who she is?
I suspect she's your husband's girlfriend.
She wasn't home. At least she didn't answer my ring. I don't know why. So I decided to go away somewhere, think things out. Then Alex came home with the car. We had an argument. I left. I had to find a place Alex couldn't think of. I remember the ranch.
So you bought an airplane ticket under a different name?
Yes, my first husband's name. And I came here. And I've been here ever since. Did Alex kill Denise Fraser?
There were bloodstains in the trunk of your car and other evidence. There must have been a body there.
I suppose she was very young and beautiful.
Oh, yes. I never saw her, but I have her picture.
Please. She is lovely. They look so nice in those uniforms. That's how he met her. Alex is a pilot.
He was.
What is it, Mr. Jones?
I was just thinking, if I wanted to get rid of something like a body, and I could fly an airplane, I'd just fly it about 100 miles out into the Pacific and forget about it.
Horrible.
If the police had that airplane, there's always a certain amount of evidence. They could tie it up with the trunk of your car and Alex's shoes. Mr. Chandler own his own plane?
No.
No, that would make it too easy.
Hello. Hello. Hazel? Hazel, where are you?
Alex, I just saw a newspaper for the first time in 3 weeks. What's this nonsense that I'm missing?
Oh, well, it's just a mistake. Where are you? New Mexico, yes, I thought so, yes. Well, now, darling, look, why don't you just get right back here, home, where we can straighten everything out?
Don't worry about it, Alex. I'll just call the Los Angeles police and tell them.
No. No, darling, I think we really should talk it over first. There's been too much notoriety about this, and Look, why don't we meet someplace?
No, I can't, Alex. I sprained my ankle walking along the canyon.
Oh, well, darling, you shouldn't have done a thing like that. I mean, you might have fallen all the way to the bottom. You could have had a serious injury. You're all alone. Nobody knows you're there. Well, you might not have been discovered for weeks. No. I'll tell you, you just stay there, and I'll be right down to get you. No, I won't hear of it. I want you to stay there. You get some sleep. I'm flying down immediately. And I'll be there by the crack of dawn. Yes. Oh, and darling, I do love you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Chandler. Following me again? Afraid so, but it's been very profitable. You're a pilot.
What about it?
Well, you must see that answers the big question where you hid the body. Out to sea, and nobody will ever find it.
Mr. Jones, I'm going to tell you this one more time. I did not murder my wife. She is not dead, and by tomorrow I'll be able to prove that.
Well, I'm not talking about your wife. I know she's alive. You murdered Denise Fraser.
Jones, I've taken just about all I'm going to out of you.
You know there's bound to be traces of blood and skin and clothes in there, just the same as in the car trunk. And blood is very hard to wash out completely, Mr. Chandler. I might say almost impossible. If this is the plane you used to dispose of Denise...
It isn't.
If it isn't, I've blown the whole case against you. But it is the one, isn't it, Mr. Chandler? I guess that's as good an answer as anything.
Get in the plane.
For a ride out to sea?
No, this time I'm taking another direction. Over mountainous terrain, but they won't be able to find you. Get in.
You don't think I'm fool enough to confront a murderer at night in a dark hangar alone, do you?
Cops?
Yep.
Well, it looks like they didn't make it.
I called them.
You're lying. Get in the plane.
You see?
All right, freeze, Chandler. Slide it over.
Come on, Mr. Chandler, we'll take you home now.
Over here, Mr. Jones. They were just covered with aphids. But I think they're all right now.
Are you all right?
No, not yet. But I'm getting there. Well, it is so nice to see you again, Mr. Jones. I thought we might have lunch in the garden.
Yes, it's too nice a day to stay inside.
Well, come along then.
Mr. Jones.
Hello, Mr. Turlock. And the top of the morning to you, Mrs. Durant.
Lunch is served.
Well, can't win them all.
Shall we?